Hello, welcome to the lineup, and of course, thank you to Lean W or Ligne W, the lovely sponsors of our show. We actually opened up a wonderful bottle of 2005 Crow's Hermitage with their wonderful wine key. Eduardo, first time you saw it, right?
That is the first time I see it.
Super cool, from a Chateau Palmer bottle. If you ever come see me in my Chateau Palmer stave, if you ever come see me at my restaurant, it's probably in my pocket until I lose it, because I can't be trusted. So once again, welcome to the lineup. It's the show where we talk about business and service in the restaurant industry. And today my guest is Eduardo Dingler. Correct? Is that how you...
That's correct.
From Morimoto, that he's currently the beverage director, although we're going to challenge him today and we're not going to talk about wine at all. Or sake. I know you like sake a little bit. Just a tiny bit. So we met like 5 years ago?
More like 6 now.
6 years ago, oh my God. So we met 6 years ago on the restaurant equivalent of the Titanic, I would think.
Short-lived.
Yeah. Not a great restaurant, but we had a lot of really great staff working with us. And we've been in touch ever since, and we always kind of bump into each other. And why don't you tell me about how you've gotten to where you are now and what you're doing now and your restaurant, briefly.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. We worked, in fact, together like 6 years ago in this little place that tried but couldn't. However, we learned a lot of things and created friendships. The GM in charge of the restaurant, I've worked with him before, and he's currently our GM in Morimoto Napa. And he just took me under his wing, and we've worked together for now 14 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
so,
we're talking about Michael Gallion, who is one of the hands-down best general managers, restaurant operations guys.
Absolutely.
Probably to you.
I love to learn from him. So he took me over and believed in me and took me under his wing, and we started doing management when we started Morimoto, and a couple other little places prior. But I think that's where you get your hands on such volume. I mean, seeing 400, 500 covers
it's just
per
huge.
day.
It's a giant
absolutely.
space.
Yeah,
oh
it's
my God.
managing 100 employees and just
100 employees.
Yeah, 50 and 50 roughly front and back of the house.
Who writes that schedule? Do you write that schedule?
No, luckily, that's why I took over the beverage. I do help a little bit with the schedule. Yeah, it is a monster. It's a full-time job just writing schedules.
I think I had 65 on a schedule once.
It's a lot.
And you have events and you have staff that are cross-trained. He can be a bartender, but he's also a server. She's a barista, but she's also a busser.
You know exactly how it is. Yeah, it could take your sleep a lot of days. And I mean, that's a big part of it. The other part is obviously the training and the everyday experiences, which is what I love. I love being on the floor and the hospitality and creating experiences and making sure everything goes good, ideally, but it doesn't always.
Yeah, and you're always, I mean, anytime that I'm there and you're there, you come and say hello. I mean, maybe that's because we're friends, but also maybe because it's your job.
It is my job. It's
I mean, you do it in such a gracious way too. It just feels so natural.
Thank you. I like to say that being on the floor during business, it's like a vacation. It's always been kind of a comfort zone.
Because you can't do anything else. You know? And it's like, and for me too, it's the same way. It's like, if something really terrible happened in my personal life, maybe the first 45 minutes of my day at work, I'm like bummed about it, but I have no time to think about it.
No, you get so busy with...
like alternate universe, parallel universe. This is the restaurant. We're dealing with this now.
Exactly. Whether it's a table or running food or opening a bottle or talking to somebody about a certain product or whatever it is, it just, bam.
You just become a different person.
Absolutely. The time goes so fast and you enjoy it a lot.
Definitely. So the name of the show is The Lineup, if anybody remembers. And I know that you guys have a really intensive, super teamworky lineup. Can you
absolutely.
I mean, that?
This lineup used to take us about 45 minutes, if not longer, to put together every day before the pre-shift. So we do a massive pre-shift that ideally runs for 20, 30 minutes, sometimes longer, every single day. So the sheet, if you could imagine, on the top you have the date, which is very important. You have a quote of the day, which we work with, and we try to make it
What was the most
fun.
recent quote of the day?
Oh, my God.
Or one that you remember that you liked.
The one I wrote yesterday, and it stick for today, too, because I really liked it, was, when everything else fails, rely on your beverage knowledge. I made that up. Usually we have some better ones from Benjamin Franklin or whatnot.
Yeah.
So
It's like a Walt Whitman quote.
exactly. If everything just goes apart, remember that some really cool sake is gonna make somebody else's day, right? Things like that.
Yeah.
But it usually is Benjamin Franklin, like wine is proof that God exists. Things like that. A lot of times are more. I don't know. We've had quotes from Snoop Dogg. We've had quotes from the
Really?
Dalai Lama.
That's very
Or
fun.
chef contributes sometimes. And if everybody knows Sean Massey or chef, he's quite interesting and funny. So that's the second part, the second layer. And then there's the cover count on the top. And then from there, there's we added a couple of years ago now the current age, drinking age. Because that's very important, and we like
so
everybody
important.
remembering that.
Well, and I find that even when I look at people's IDs, I sometimes you zone out.
Absolutely.
Like when I don't know what it is, but it's like I'll pick someone's ID up and I'm like, wait, what? What's the date? And like for some reason, it's so much harder. And to know every day, to know the
Oh,
date,
absolutely. I reference to the
that's
sheet actually
so
sometimes when I look at
helpful.
IDs because I
Yeah.
even forget after typing it. But yeah, we keep it current. It's like June 23rd, 94. All right, I remembered. I just typed it an hour ago. So that helps.
Now I'll
But
remember.
so now I remember. So from there, if you could visualize, we have 4 squares, or 5 actually, 3 on one side and 2 on the other. On one side, we start with the food, which is the most important part of a restaurant, ideally. And we have specials, we have counts, 86s, and then in our restaurant, 86s for sushi, which are very specific, and explain and whatnot, and then put the Japanese and English
And
translation.
so for my parents who don't work in restaurants, what are 86s?
86s is items that you have run out of, and you probably know the story better than me, why it's called 86s, or somebody here
I've
does.
heard like 8
I
different
always-
versions.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
It's fun to make one up, right? But
Google it.
anybody in the restaurant business knows that 86, it's something's been gone, right?
Yeah.
86 an employee, done. So anyway, things that we run out, specials, and then we have seasonal things. For instance, we have a seasonal risotto, right? So this week we're using bacon, marmalade, asparagus. Next week's gonna be corn and whatnot. So you always keep it changed. Also, we have a couple items that are market price, lobster and uni. They're very,
This is
they
a lot.
fluctuate.
This is a significant amount that you're expecting your servers.
Oh,
to-
absolutely.
This is this is a skilled job that they have.
Yeah,
it's
we've
not
gone
just
10 minutes.
show
It's
up
only
and
this
think-
much so
Yeah.
far. So I'll simplify it.
No,
From
keep it
there
going.
on,
I love it. I'm gonna steal it tomorrow.
you should. Everybody should use it. We have multiple employees that have worked with us before, and they moved on and started using
Yeah.
it, which is also it's very flattering. So from there on, you have the market prices and the story on certain of those items. And then you go survey that change every time. And then for guests with an anniversary or birthday, we have a scoop or a bonbon or whatnot, and we put it in there. And finally, we have a question of the day. So there's a daily quiz that sometimes is more involved than others. And it includes, this is specific to food,
Yes.
right? So you have list the ingredients on the Morimoto sashimi that are 20 different things.
And the
and
menu
allergies
is
and
massive too.
yeah, the
isn't
menu
it? I
it's
mean,
it reads like a book. There's no way you can have every
it's
item in a
insane.
week.
Yeah, I mean that's something that you actually actively have to study for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you have like new employees, they just take the test and they answer every question. 2 days later, they forget what this dish is because you just
It's
learn
just
it for the
because
test.
it's like studying for your final exam.
Exactly.
'Cause you cram,
I have a lot of
cram.
respect for everybody that's passed that test. So we keep it really refreshed, like sometimes simple things, like what's the allergy on this dish? And sometimes there's things you don't know there is.
Yeah.
So it's good to keep you always involved. And then there's a line we recently, more recently added a line of salts that we serve with the steaks. So our chef source
Salts with the steak.
salt from, right now we have, I'm gonna butcher it, but I think we have red Hawaiian salt. We have a Himalayan pink salt. We have a salt from Hiroshima, from southern Japan, and one from Peru. So when you order a steak, whether it's a Wagyu steak or a dry age or wet age steak, they bring you the 4 different salts, a little bit of each for you to try them on.
And every one of your servers knows the difference.
Absolutely,
That's,
you're expected to, and that's probably one of the easiest
Yeah.
parts of the
I mean,
day.
that's the amazing thing about going to a restaurant. Amazing thing about going to a restaurant like your restaurant is that, I mean, your server is not just taking your order; they're
No.
guiding you through. I mean, they're helping you through the experience. of your
Absolutely. And one of the
dinner.
things we always remind our staff is when people come to the restaurant, it's so foreign and the menu is so big that you're expected, it's like you live in the mansion with 50 rooms. You're expected to grab somebody by the hand and show them where every room is and where the restroom is and where the pool is, rather than just saying, here's the keys, go in, and then you're just lost, right? So it's the same idea. You create that experience by channeling your guest whether they don't do sushi or they don't do meat or raw or this, and then you create it.
Yeah,
And what do you like to
mean,
drink
and
with
every
it?
day it gets harder because we have so many different people who have so many different dietary restrictions.
More
whether or not
trendy.
they're, paleo or gluten-free or whatever.
Absolutely.
There's so many things. I mean, in a sushi restaurant, maybe it's not so hard to be gluten-free.
It could
Thank
be with the
God.
soy and whatnot.
Well, that's true. You have tamari, though, right?
We do have tamari in
Tamari
house.
is gluten-free.
We have to. And also, on that note, it seems like the more you pay for food and to go to an experience, the higher end, the more restrictions somebody has. Because if you walk into a place that's a sandwich shop, you don't stand there and say, hey, I don't eat gluten, I don't eat this,
right?
right?
And say, hey,
Exactly.
I'm on this
Yeah.
keto something diet.
What's your alternative
That's
for
such a
gluten?
good point.
Exactly.
That's such a good
It's
point.
like, I don't do soy on my meat and things like that.
All right.
But from there on, so we move on to another square, and that's my baby. That's all the beverage. So on top, I like to always keep a current contest. Right now we have 3 sakes, and you get a gift certificate for $150 for one of the favorite French restaurants in Yonville. Whoever sells that in a week, right? And then you go into hand sells. I always like to keep 1 or 2 or 3 hand sells, even though I reprint often.
Are they on the list, the hand cells, or these are
Not on
something that
print.
are not on print?
Not on
which
print.
People love that.
Absolutely, and we
People
find
that-
a lot
that
of success
really-
with those.
Yeah, that gets some panties wet.
Exactly. You can say that again. So those things are always like geeky things or
Yeah.
whatnot that do well when you. But you also have to think that the menu is so large and there's so many already additions and things to think about that the employee, the server doesn't always think about remembering those.
Yeah.
So that's for them. It's a step forward. It's like having to get a PhD and having to read a guest and
Yeah.
say this person is going to go for the hand sale of Dom Perignon 1985.
Well, and there's also the fluency of talking to a guest and feeling comfortable,
Exactly.
talking to them about beverage. And so I'm sure you're already building up their base beverage knowledge.
Exactly.
Because, to hand sell some like false Riesling from 2005, if they don't know the base knowledge of where that
the
wine
wine,
is
you can
coming
never sell
from,
it.
it's not, how it is compared to analogous wines on the printed list. It
Exactly.
wouldn't be, so there's a lot of build up before we even get to the square.
Absolutely.
On the sheet.
And I remember actually this place I used to work at, a Sicilian restaurant, where we had 12 specials every day. 12, and you had to learn them. I mean, I could have gone acted a movie after this, after learning the pre-show.
Did you have to speak them?
You had to say each one of them at the table.
I
So
would
by the third one, the
never
guest was already
listen
sleeping.
To any of those.
Oh yeah, but we had some hardcore Sicilian mafioso-looking owners that were standing by your side. They're on the outside having a cigarette and a coffee, and they're listening to you say all the specials.
Oh, God.
And you learn them, and you just said them. And by the time you started to the 4th one, you could say whatever you wanted in between. Nobody was listening.
Ossobuco,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, you could say
the
we
time.
put Pop Rocks on top of the steak, and they wouldn't know any better. So we figured out they remember the first 2 and the last 2,
Yeah.
and from there on, that's what we sold. So you start mixing them around. What do you want to sell?
That's amazing.
So it was fun. Anyway, that's another story. For the beverage part, so we go hand sales, pricing, a little story about it, and also print sheets on each item. And then 86s, again,
We talked about
86s for whoever. So we put like, in order, I have an OCD, so I organize some spirits, sake,
Yes.
white wine, red wine.
And
so
are
you
they
put them all in
are
there.
they still printed? I mean, I know, because you guys.
86 is items that are on the beverage that are printed on the menu, and we currently run out, or something happened.
Or the order is coming, the order didn't come in, they sent you the wrong thing. that kind of
Exactly,
thing.
which
Okay.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when you have 60, 70 sakes, 300 wines,
And you have
20
no
cocktails.
idea how much we spend on paper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, poor trees. I mean,
All day
Definitely.
long, just cutting down forests.
yeah, we've been starting to just print on both sides of the pages and stuff like
Yeah.
that a year ago. So you put all the items you run out, changes on vintages that are specific. And then on top of that, I offer flights. So I have multiple flights. I have more important sake flights. We have 2. And there's a Morimoto flight, all the Morimoto sakes. And there's a special flight that changes a little bit every once in a while, which has a Junmai Ginjo, a Daiginjo, and a sweet or Nigori sake or whatnot, something. So you keep it balanced, right? So that's an offer for the guest. And so I have those. I have the price per glass in case somebody wants more than that. And then I have a tequila flight, which I do a silver, a repo, an añejo, and a mezcal. I have a whiskey flight,
Oh my God.
which includes like whiskey from Japan or.
Your poor
you know.
servers. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
feeling
I feel
nervous.
bad for them. They definitely. We squeeze every brain cell.
I've been managing restaurants for like 4 or 5 years, and I don't think I could go work in your restaurant.
I know.
as a server.
It's a lot of information.
lot.
Now I understand why some skip the pre-shift and they
skip
call
over.
in late. No, I'm
What
just
happened?
kidding. That never happens.
What happens then? Huh?
Exactly. No, that's not a possibility. Because sometimes we stagger in times, and
Yeah.
whoever doesn't, you need to know those things when you walk
and
in.
that's why you have the sheet, though.
Exactly.
That's why it's written down.
So flights and blah blah blah, all these different flights, and then we have a beverage quiz also. So that could
What
be.
was the question yesterday?
Yesterday was actually sometimes it's a quiz, sometimes it's an item, and this yesterday was Westland Distillery, which is the first American single malt outside of Seattle. So I printed some
cool.
sheets, and I didn't expect my staff,
Wait, the
even though
first American single malt outside of Seattle, or
in the U.S.
outside of Seattle?
the distillery is right outside of Seattle.
Oh, okay.
But it's the first American single malt. But I've had the product for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Thank you, scared me, Susan. 3 weeks on the list. That sometimes when I bring new items, I'll just bring them in and just kind of play and put it in the back bar and
Yeah.
see if somebody asks and what's the interest on it. And then when we catch up, we start doing a little more thorough education on it. So yesterday was that. We pinpointed. One of the servers knew about it. I was very impressed, and not the one that I
Really?
thought would know it,
Not the one.
which happens. Yep.
Not the one.
She keeps her job another week, and no, they're all amazing. So we went in depth about that, and then right below the question of the day, we have pairings because we do a tasting menu.
Yes.
So I have a wine pairing.
Omakase menu. Yes.
Exactly, you got it, which is a progression. It's a 7-course, blah, blah, blah. But for this case, the pairings are wine pairings, obviously, with a small description, super small. You need glasses to read it. And then there's a price per
Yes.
glass, because we have it open too. And then sake. And, I mean, in occasion, we can mix them or whatnot. We've done
So you have the choice between sake and wine?
either or mix them.
Oh, mix.
Yeah, we'll do anything. We've
Oh.
done cocktail pairings.
Yeah.
We've done non-alcoholic. So
That's cool. So you're doing 2 pairings for
Yeah.
one menu.
exactly.
It's too much
So
work.
1 two-top can have one of each.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah,
We
so-
need to go in. We haven't done that.
Absolutely, you guys got to. Yeah, we'll do 3 pairings. So that's the one side. Granted, we spent all this time, but it's just one side of the page. The other side, very important, and one of the most important, it's on the top, we have a review. So most times we have a good and bad review, or one review that takes over.
Review.
You need it, and you know what, Yelp and OpenTable and those, sometimes a lot of glorified bad reviews, right? Somebody's just in a rant because they walked in and you didn't have the sparkling water they liked.
But they do mean
So,
something. They
Absolutely.
definitely do.
There are
It's
a
always
lot
good
that
to
are very
see.
constructive.
Yeah.
And that's the ones we look for. We look for something, not somebody just nagging about the lighting.
Yeah.
But something like, our server recommended this, or most recently there was one that said, great server, but all the recommendations were awful. So it's like, so that's not a good server at the end of the day, right? I mean, it falls
Well,
down on
but
what you're
it's
recommending and
also-
reading your guest again.
Yeah, that's true.
So you take it with great assault, a lot of those, but a lot of really good ones that just like make your heart warm, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, very knowledgeable staff and
How do you handle
everything
the
was.
staff reaction to the negative reviews?
A couple of them really freak out, and on a daily basis they ask us, "Is this me? Am I losing my job?"
I mean, I'll say that. I'll say like a blanket thing, like I noticed you guys aren't declaring your tips or something, and then like 4 of them will be like, "No, I am. I am. No, it's not me." I'm like, it's not. It isn't you.
It's general.
It's usually not the ones that think that it is them.
Exactly. They freak out. And other guys just have no clue. So constructive. Wow.
Yeah,
Constructive and.
This was this question.
Oh my God! See. And I'm not a talker.
This question. These were the questions we haven't got to. We have 5 minutes.
I said I could really comprise it.
We're gonna.
I think I answered everything in one page. So constructive, right? And things that can build, and the good things and bad things. And then from there on, then you get the things that you end up nagging every day for like a week. every 2 years,
well,
right?
when you have a really big staff too. I mean, I have a really small staff now, and one of the pleasures of moving from a really big restaurant to a really small restaurant was I would say something like, "Hey guys, don't the glasses after you're buffing them smell dirty," you know? And then like 2 days later, like I'd be like watching them obsessively smell, and all the glasses would smell fine. I'd be like, "Well, this is a good feeling." Like
Yes.
everybody's
On the same
did
page.
it.
Yeah.
But because there's only like 15 of them.
Exactly.
You have 100.
Yeah, so when you
have
have
to say it
a guy that was on
again
vacation and there was a buffer and he's eating fried chicken in the back, it's like, no. So those little things add to the whole hamster wheel, and you end up mentioning same things over and over, right?
Over again.
And so what we started doing, because I went on a trip for a couple of weeks for work. When I came back, we still had the same notes, and it was really frustrating. I was ripping my hair up.
Yeah,
so
and it's hard to read. For me, it was hard to read them again and again, and really like.
And most of the staff just
voice.
zone out. They're like, okay, give me a break.
So it's really important that we fold napkins this way.
Exactly. They're like, fold your napkins. Yeah, it's like, thanks. So what we did when I came back from that trip, this was a few months ago, is I grabbed all those things that we always talk about, framed it, put it in the buzzer station, and everybody, it's supposed to know them, and that's that.
Do you know who has that too? Is I think Le Bernardin. I think in their book. What's the name of that book? Do you have the book? Yeah. It's one of the books. One of them. It's on the line maybe. They have 128 like do not. It's like do not.
Oh, I'm
do's
only at
or,
48,
like,
so I should work more.
But they're like crises or something, and yeah.
Cool.
No,
We'll
both of them
definitely.
are signed. We can't.
We can do whiteout.
I'll just cross my name out. But yeah, they have the same thing. Yeah, I think Eric Repair has it's like 100 plus 20 like
You
things
just
that
expect it
or
to.
like do nots and do's in a restaurant. And it sounds like you just organically came up with that. That's amazing.
We just had to. It was no other.
Can you send me a photocopy?
Absolutely. I'll send you a photocopy.
Or a fax?
I probably have one somewhere.
Fax me those.
Yeah. Some apply only to a restaurant. You'd be amazed. But and things that came up, right? Like this happened yesterday. Let's not do it again. Things like that, and good things too. And then finally, the last little square has VIPs, important guests for us. That could be somebody that's friends with Chef Morimoto. Could be somebody that owns a winery that we work really closely with, that we have an exclusive with other restaurants, or it could be somebody's aunt, right? And we want to make sure these people not only get taken care of, because everybody gets the same treatment ideally, right? But everything's timed on the table that they chose, and all these little things go in effect, and alert a manager.
There's no worse feeling than when you notice. I mean, I'm sure it has. I mean, you guys are so much more organized than I think I am. But when you walk into the dining room and there's somebody there and they're almost done with the meal, and you're like, oh my freaking God. Nobody has touched the table. I don't know that they're here. I'm pretty sure we have not done anything yet.
Exactly. And
you're just, your heart drops.
Give love.
Yeah, I mean, because we really want to make sure that we make the connections with the guests that we value.
Absolutely.
I mean, we value all guests, but our friends, our family, our repeat guests. We want to.
Some
make sure
people
that
go
they
a little
know,
deeper.
Yeah, that we value that.
And also, I mean, when you do that, you got to make sure that you're not getting so much love to this table and the table right next.
You have to balance. I've definitely been at a restaurant where I was lucky enough to be given like pairings and tastings and special things and got mean mugged by the people next to us.
We had that happen on New Year's Day.
Were you guys? Was it you guys? Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to balance it. Yeah, you have to, secret little things. I like to do dessert wine because most people who aren't foodies aren't really that into dessert wine. So I don't think the jealousy level is as high. So
that's a very good point.
Here's something that's cool. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then right below that, after the VIPs, we have notes for certain guests that are recurring, and then the large parties, and that's that.
It. And we're
that's
done.
it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Sorry, you asked.
Oh, and thank you so much.
Oh, it's serious.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to hang out with you all the time.
Thank
We're
you.
going to have to do that omakase menu soon.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Significant others.
Definitely. Keeping it cheery.
And I think in a couple of weeks we're going to have Sandra Bernstein from The Girl and the Fig.
That's awesome.
And she's got a whole restaurant empire and catering empire we're going to talk about. So that'll be really fun.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ToutSuite.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.